Joining us right now, we have Rising Technology Star Award winner Sydney Hamilton. She's a mechanical design engineer at Boeing. She leads a cross-functional team in the development of satellite reflectors, critical mechanisms in the global satellite arrays that redirect radio frequencies. So think like your GPS. So throughout her career, she's had the opportunity to design 3D printed satellite parts, to deliver structural repairs to Boeing's fleet of 767s and 777 airplanes. She was recently named an If Then Ambassador for the American Association for the Advancement of Science to inspire youth to pursue STEM fields. She is even officially an aquanaut. So I'm going to bring Sydney in with us live right now. Hey, Sydney, how you doing?
Hello, good morning.
All right. Well, Sydney, so great to have you joining us today. We've had such a great conversation this morning, moving from different countries, meeting conservationists and scientists and explorers. We've had people tuning in from South America, from Africa, from places like the UK, France, and Germany. We are so excited to get to know you a little bit better today, and then I'm sure there'll be some good questions.
I love it. Blazing trails around the world.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to let you take over for a little bit, and then we'll have our Q&A time.
Excellent. Well, hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here. My name is Sydney Hamilton, and I am a rocket scientist, aka aerospace engineer, and engineering manager. So this is really exciting to share a little bit about myself. So I'm going to grab my slides. And go full screen here. All right. And you can see my screen okay? I'm going to take that as silence as a yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it looks great, Sydney. You might even just want to hit that little hide down at the bottom just to make the screen sharing icon disappear.
Let's see if I can get that. Ooh. My mouse is not
It's moving around a lot. You know what? Don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. It's tucked to the bottom anyways.
Great, because I can't see my mouse on my end. So, well, thank you all. I'm excited to be here. Like I said, my name is Sydney Hamilton, and we'll be talking about a little bit about me, what's inspired me to go into aerospace engineering, where I started my career, and the work that I've been doing in the community. So in between, I'm going to give you all some of the phrases and mantras and quotes that I say anytime that I have to remind myself to get grounded. So still I rise. It's always good to always know that you can always get back up. So anytime you fall, just remember, still I rise. And I love that poem by Maya Angelou. So a little bit about me. I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, raised in Plano, Texas. I just don't have the accent to show. I love volunteering and giving back to the community. I graduated from Spelman College, which you'll see the picture. The picture's all on the right-hand side. I graduated from Spelman College with my mathematics degree in pure math, and University of Michigan, I graduated with my aerospace engineering degree. And you'll also see this beautiful building. And I studied abroad in Xiamen, China. So that is the college campus that I was at, and it was equally as gorgeous in person. Fun facts about me: I love to salsa dance. I have my motorcycle license, but no motorcycle. And I'm a scuba diver. As we mentioned, I did get to go live underwater for 24 hours, making me an aquanaut, which was incredible. And we'll talk more about that later. I've worked on the space side, working on 3D printed parts. And satellite parts. And then I've also worked on the first mechanical folding wingtip, which you'll also see a picture of. So that's a little bit about me. So because of them, I'd like to give a special shout out to my biggest supporters, which would be my family. I have one sister, a niece and nephew, and my wonderful parents. I could not have done as much as I've been able to do without their support. And so slide dedicated to them, just to know a little bit more about me and how I've been supported and how important it is to have that support group, whether it's your family, your friends, people that are in your network. That's so essential to, at least it's been essential to my success. I never lose. I either win or I learn. This is a great way to reframe failure. Rather than looking at things as a failure, I look at things as, what did I learn from it? It's not a failure if I've learned from it, because you learn so much more from a failure than you do a success. When you do something right, you just move on. But when it doesn't go quite how you imagine, you oftentimes reflect and you learn. And so you can not only help yourself in the future, but help others. So someone who inspired me was Wilma Rudolph. She was also born in Nashville, Tennessee. She caught polio at the age of 4 years old and was told that she would never walk again. And she had many, many attempts to try to walk. And I'm sure there were times that she felt like she failed and that there was nothing else that she could do and was ready to give up. And she talks about it in many of her books. However, with the help of her 22 siblings, yes, 22, that is not a typo, and many hours of rehabilitation, she not only walked, but she ran. And it was very inspiring to me because she became the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in one Olympic event. And so you'll see the pictures of her racing. So to go from being told you'd never walk again to feeling like, you know what, maybe the doctors are right. Maybe I should just give up. Maybe I should just change my dreams, to being the first in the Olympics and being known as the fastest woman in the world, was really inspiring for me growing up. You are you. Now, isn't that pleasant? Thank you, Dr. Seuss, for this one. It's a great reminder to always be yourself. There's no one else like you in the world. And so the way that you contribute is going to be unique to anyone else. Only you can contribute in the way that you do. So your voice, your thoughts, your ideas are so important. So where did I start? Ever since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to fly, superhero style. And I always wanted to be a princess. However, growing up, I really didn't see myself in media. I didn't see princesses that looked like me. Mulan was my favorite princess growing up. She shared similar personality as me, but didn't look like me. And then Storm was my favorite superhero, but I actually liked the powers of some of the other superheroes. So it was great when they did the Princesses with Power Tools calendar, and I got to be Shuri, where I actually got to be this flying superhero, even though she built the planes, flying superhero and princess at the same time. So I started just by standing outside, blanket tied around my neck as a young girl, arms straight out, and once in the ready position, I would try to take off. My parents not once told me that I couldn't fly. So I always believed that I could. So it makes sense that I became an aerospace engineer. And that's where my love for the sky started. The curiosity and wanting to go fast. See the world like an astronaut. That is something that I tell myself when I get too stuck into the details. Maybe I did something wrong. And rather than looking at all the things I did right, I hone in on that one thing.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said. Sorry,
Sorry,
could you say
Siri.
that again?
Siri wanted to be involved too. So I would hone in on that one mistake rather than look at all of the accomplishments and make that one mistake define me. But when I think about what's happening in the world and how astronauts are in space looking back at the world, they're probably not thinking about the burnt toast. They're probably not thinking about the typo they made in that email. They're looking at it from a big picture. How am I impacting the whole world? How am I making a change? How am I making a difference? And so this is a reminder to see the big picture. Don't get stuck into certain details that might get you on this rabbit trail that you don't need to be on, but instead take a step back and say, okay, what are the things I've done well and how am I contributing? So my career journey, we talked about college. I started off in BCA, which is Boeing Commercial Aircrafts, working on several different wide body planes, which are the ones that are usually going international, or as you can see, the FedEx plane, probably doing a lot of your FedEx and Amazon deliveries. I then went on to service engineering. So we'll go up, where I did airplane repairs. So oftentimes when you're on the tarmac and on the plane and they're saying, oh, we're trying to get this fixed, we're calling someone, they were probably calling me. And we got to fly all over the world to fix aircrafts, which was really, really fun, especially since I was usually one of the smaller ones and could kind of crawl in between some of the spaces to get the pictures to see what's going on. Then I worked as a mechanical systems engineer, developing 3D printed parts for satellites. And we can actually 3D print in aerospace grade levels. So that is amazing. From there, I became the responsible engineering authority, where I worked on satellite reflectors, as we talked about before. And you'll see a picture of the reflector lab that I worked in. And now I am a manager, engineering manager, for managing most of the projects that I've already worked on. So it's a really perfect fit. And here's some of my pictures. We had a day where we decided to dress up like engineers. This is not how we dress day to day, but we thought it would be funny to take a picture with all of us dressed as what people think engineers dress like. You'll see some pocket protectors in there, briefcases. So we have a really fun team. I'm holding 3D printed parts in my hand above and the left. On the right-hand side, that's me on an airplane repair, working out in the tarmac. It's hard to see, but if you look at the airplane with the lift, you'll see a small little hand being raised, and that's me working on a lightning strike repair. And it just happened to be at the top of the empennage being the tail of the airplane. And then bottom is me on site with some satellites in the background. Be the change you wish to see in the world. This is a really great example of where I feel like a lot of representation matters. Like this festival, Women Blazing Trails, is so important because we have to be able to see ourselves. And if we can be seen, people relate to so many different things. I've had people relate to moles, like, oh, I have a mole in the same place, especially children. Oh, your eyes are the same color as mine. Oh, you like the color purple too. And so you just don't know what you're going to relate to. So all of us and all of our voices are so important when we want to see a change. So be the change you wish to see in the world is a big one for me. We talked about this too. I became a AAAS If Then Ambassador, the American Association for the Advancement of Science If Then Ambassador. And I can give a fun announcement today, actually. So those statues were located in Dallas, Texas at North Park Mall. However, we are doing our next, all 120 statues of actual women in STEM will be moved to the Smithsonian. So I am so excited. I will be out there on March 4th weekend. So if you are in the DC area, I highly recommend going to visit and see all of our statues. These are some of the incredible women that I've had the opportunity to work with. So intelligent, so smart, and it's going to be a really great time because you'll get to meet a lot more of the ambassadors. I've been on CBS Mission Unstoppable. On the left-hand corner, you'll see the hang glider in the background. I was teaching the concepts of flight. In the middle, Dramatic Results, that's the nonprofit that I am the president of. And you'll see in my hand, that was our Marie Claire photo shoot to really help more people see STEM in a place that we know a lot of women are looking. The boat is a cardboard boat where there are young girls and boys working in a competition to make a boat out of cardboard and duct tape. And yes, they do get in the water behind us. And yes, it is hilarious to watch them race in these boats. Not all of the boats make it all the way around the buoy, but they really make a great effort. And then I recently had the opportunity to go in the Zero G plane, aka the Vomit Comet. And that episode of CBS Mission Unstoppable will be coming up soon. More details to come. And then the Aquanaut experience. You'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, the water did not have a lot of clarity, but I promise that is me in scuba gear underwater. I got to go with some incredible women, Sam Porter, Dr. Sam Porter, Adele Luda, and myself. And we stayed underwater. As you can see in the middle, there was a pizza delivery underwater. Yes, we managed to make that happen. In the picture with the three of us in the top right-hand corner, you'll see us with water bottles. There was a water bottle underwater that was already there, and then a water bottle that we took from above water and brought underwater, and looked at how being 22 feet underwater compressed the air in the empty water bottle. So it was a really cool little science experiment. And then this is the underwater habitat. It's a little hard to see, but we did go around and 3D scan, as digital archaeologist Dr. Porter so graciously did. We helped her 3D scan the entire facility that we stayed in. You'll see the kitchen with the red seats on the right, and in the middle is the moon pool, which is how we got in and out, because you had to swim under the habitat and pop up, just like the gentleman with the pizza. And then in the left are our bunk beds. There's one on the bottom, one on the top, and those are the rooms that we stayed in. So you don't have to have it all figured out today. You don't have to have it all figured out today. Life's a journey, not a sprint. Enjoy every moment. So that's the message that I'd like everyone to take away. I've done a lot of fun things, but really it's been an entire journey. Lots of support from friends, family, and so many others. And really, I just try to take it day by day and enjoy. So that is a little about me. Oh, so now I can hide it.
All right. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for that great presentation, an inspirational presentation with the use of those quotes. And, you know, it is so important to have a supportive group behind you, whether it's family, whether it's friends, people who, instead of telling you no or why, it's more why not? Why not? Right? You can do this. You should do this. I can only imagine having that support was so instrumental to the successes you've had so far and continue to have.
Absolutely.
All right. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll take some questions from the live chat, but to get us started, you know, you mentioned 3D printing of parts. And so I'm wondering, you know, obviously this is a relatively new technology being used more and more to 3D print different components for things like satellites and everyday things that we use. What are some of the advantages of 3D printing? And I wonder if there's some disadvantages to it as well.
Excellent question. I'm going to take you all on a journey with me while I go grab my 3D printed part and answer that question. We'll see how good at multitasking I am.
All right, perfect.
So really, I think there are a ton of advantages when it comes to 3D printing, because especially when you're talking about space, weight is so important. The more, I think it costs around $120,000 per pound when you look at weight and sending it to space. So the lighter you can make something, the better. It's faster. There's a lot of post-processing. And what I mean by post-processing is taking what you have and needing to deburr, which is like taking the sharp edges off and doing a little bit of machining to clean it up, because it's not going to be perfectly smooth. Some of that post-processing can be tough. And I'm speaking specifically about flight parts. But it's faster. It can be running overnight. You can run several different machines at once, and you can mass produce pretty quickly. I would say the disadvantage would be the initial starting cost can be a huge overhead to get a 3D printed aerospace grade 3D printed machine up and going. It's hard to meet those requirements if you're not skilled in 3D printing already. And I would say, um, yeah, it can be tough. It can be tough starting. And then I would say supply, like how many places can actually do it. That's the hard part. But if you're talking about prototyping, tooling, um, any sort of mock-up, 3D printing is absolutely the way to go. You can get it done so fast, and you can really have 24 hours around the clock. This is an example of one of my 3D printed parts. So this is aerospace grade metal. Obviously, it's not in the satellite right now, but this is a satellite bracket. And basically, it's an electrical black bracket that used to be 300 parts that is now one singular part. And the great thing about that is there's less room for errors. If you're going up in space and you are rattling so fast and you have 300 parts bolted together, I'm not saying that it will happen, but there's a higher likelihood of something coming apart than there is when it's just one piece. So that's another advantage, is that you have less parts. Less parts means less places for error.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a good example, going from 300 parts to one structure. I mean, yeah,
And it's super light. Like, it's not like this is my pinky holding it. It's really super light too.
well, like you shared, weight is so important for space, the amount of cost to bring something. And then, you can't just call up like underwater like you did and ring up a pizza. You can't do that in space. So printing replacement parts
No.
is going to be a really important thing in the future. Very, very cool.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
So you talked about failure, and I always look at failure as an opportunity. There's beauty in a failure, but I think people get hung up on failure and don't kind of push past it. So I wonder, how do we change that narrative around failure to get people to look at it in a different way?
I think it starts with how we teach it. I think when people do something wrong, sometimes we can be quick, even when you're talking to your friends and they say, "Oh, I got a 55 on that test." It's like, "Ooh," and there's like an immediate reaction, like,
Right.
"Ooh." And I think sometimes how we've been taught to respond to failure can facilitate like feeling that shame or feeling bad about, oh, it didn't go perfect. How do we fix this? So I think part of it is going to be, how do we respond to each other? Someone says, oh, I didn't do well on this test at all. And you're like, okay, have you been to the professor's office hours? What are you doing to help? Even those follow-up questions. And maybe you have an initial reaction like, eek, okay, well, let's talk about this. Is it really that bad? Have you been failing this whole time? Is there a way that we can find you a tutor? And I think finding a more supportive way to help each other when we haven't been as successful, and teaching how to support someone who hasn't done well and helping them get to, okay, so I did learn from this. I learned that I shouldn't wait until 10 hours before the test to start studying. All right, what are you going to do differently next time so this doesn't happen? So I think that's one way we can help each other reframe how we look at failure. It's just our reaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as a rocket scientist, as an engineer, I'm sure you can attest that failure is like, it's just part of the job. But those failures lead to improvements, lead to fixes, lead to,
Exactly.
you want those failures nice and early and down, say on Earth, then,
Exactly. And fail fast. Like, fail while we're on Earth, right? I'd much rather someone fail and then tell me, and I tell my team this all the time, if you fail, let me know so I can help you. But if you fail and you don't let me know, that's when I'm upset, because that is at risk of people's lives. This is a lot of money. This is, you don't know what could happen. I mean, if there's a failure, especially in space, and let's say there's an explosion, those bits and pieces will hit other satellites. So it'll be I think we all saw Sandra Bullock.
Gravity.
Gravity. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How like one little thing uh, hit one thing and debris spread everywhere and it became catastrophic. And so you have to be so careful
sure.
and yeah, embrace those failures so that we can improve.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned one of your inspirations growing up was Wilma Rudolph.
Mhm.
And I mean, you can clearly see why an amazing athlete, broke so many barriers, overcame so much. I wonder about science inspirations. Was there somebody in the science world who really inspired you as you were kind of thinking about a career in aerospace or engineering?
So I would say that's always been a really challenging question for me.
Mhm.
There were definitely people that I thought were incredible once I became an adult, but as a
Sure.
little kid, I didn't often feel like I saw a lot of women in space, and especially not Black women in space, or even as pilots or anything in the aerospace field. So I often found it hard to connect. However, my dad would always say, "Oh, that's my little engineer." If I was taking a clock apart and put it back together, even if there was like 50 screws left out. And I'm like, I did it. He's like, that's my little engineer. And he would really encourage me. And my mom would do science experiments with me. So I do think a lot of my inspiration also came within the household of just, while I may not have seen a reflection of me in what was happening around me, and I may not have been exposed to it either. That's a big aspect of it too, is that it might have been right next door, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
But my family made sure to expose me within the household, so it became very normal.
Yeah, amazing. Well, we were just talking at Canelaway in South Africa shortly before you,
Mhm.
uh,
In the
paleoanthropologist,
rainforest.
and yeah, we were in the rainforest with Maria Jose, uh, and I think that's changing a lot, and which is really exciting.
Yes.
Women like yourself who are now front and center, being recognized, stories being shared, um, you know, on TV, in graphic novels, in comics, getting into classrooms. I think that's so exciting right now to see that representation increasing. And I really hope, this generation sees that more and realizes, yeah, absolutely, I can do that, right? That's like the whole thing behind the if then
Absolutely.
ambassadors.
Exactly, and I think it's more accessible because more people are realizing, "Hey," and I'm one of them. I was doing a lot of community service on a quiet scale. I was
Yeah,
uncomfortable with posting. I'm like, "Well, I don't need to brag about this. Like, I don't need to post." And it wasn't until the ambassadorship that they're like, do you understand that if you post, people can see and more
yes,
people can be reached and more people can be helped? It's not necessarily about you, it's
yeah,
about helping other people. And so that was a really great lesson to learn. And now more people are accessible because I get instant messages and chats on all different platforms. So it's perfect.
yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Well, congratulations on heading to the Smithsonian. That's pretty cool.
Yay! I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty amazing to be able to see that there. I do want to share you were just speaking of connectivity. So let me share here your Twitter link, your handle on Twitter and Instagram. If you do want to follow along Sydney's adventures, you can follow along there. And then I should share the link as well. If you want to check out some of the other amazing If Then
Yes.
ambassadors, you can check out the link there and you can see the entire crew, including your two colleagues who became Aquanauts with you. Then actually
Yes.
Adele will be joining us tomorrow night. She'll kind of wrap things up. She'll be our last speaker tomorrow night. So very cool.
Excellent. Don't miss it.
Well, Sydney, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your story and, important things with us, like failure is important, fail fast. And the technology is just getting so exciting. I'm still thinking of that
It is.
300 parts down to that one lightweight, solid, dependable piece. It's amazing.
Exactly. I can't wait for 3D printing to continue to advance.
All right. Well, Sydney, thank you so much for joining us this weekend. Have a
Yes.
great rest of the weekend. And I have no doubt that we'll be seeing you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you, Sydney.
Bye.